Hello, hello. This is Tamara Hergert, and I have such a great joy to have Leigh Witherell with me again today. She came to our podcast in end of April last year, 2025, and we just had such a blast during our conversation. And her journey is so amazing because you started about 4 years ago, right?
About 4 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. And from that point, your art career, it went into stratosphere, I think. And it's like every year it just keeps going up and up and up. And it's you don't have any kind of like benefactors that like you don't have somebody like pulling you from the top, like, dragging you up into like auctions or like galleries. You don't have any like pre-existing connections, right?
No, not at all.
And that is so valuable from the standpoint that you're basically switch careers. You started doing full-time art 4 years ago, and now you are somewhere where it takes some people like 20 years to get to this point. And I think it's due to just amazing clarity on what you want to create, being very authentic with your art, and just having excellent art skills. That helps. And you're being very diligent with and purposeful with your career. You're just going through all of the steps that you need to take, and you take them because you feel like this is what I need to do, even though you're like, you're just like everybody else, every other artist or most of us. We just like a very private people. We just kind of want to just create art and kind of stay in our world and not get out there as much. And it would be great if somebody else did it all for us,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
it's
we
just
would.
not the case. And it wouldn't be truly authentic to us. Like that representation would not be fully aligned with us. And so I'm gonna just do a quick call out to other artists about your website. I think they should go and check it out. It's Lee's, Lee's.art.com.
Except there's no .com after it. It's just lees.art. So no .com.
Lee's.art. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I was like looking at the website address. I'm like, this is a weird address. Okay, so Lee's dot art. So no dot com. And then the Instagram handle is Lee's Art FL. Okay. So it is classic nudes. So it is very balanced in like, to me, it is very visually appealing, but full disclosure, there's going to be some boob action there. So just be aware of that. And so Lee, I'm going to hand you the microphone. I'm just so thrilled to have you. And so
That's fine. Yeah.
question for you. So when you do your art show or like an art exhibition, and it's not like I'm not asking about any specific one, but typically like in general, do you have a special like strategy to collect emails from people who visit the gallery? Like, sometimes there's like a raffle that artists do at the opening. You throw your email in the hat and maybe you'll win the print. But like, do you have something like that you do?
Actually, honestly, I try not to collect too much when I'm, like, at a gallery show, because a lot
Hmm.
of the collectors that are at those shows, they're those galleries' collectors.
Hmm.
And there's still kind of I just always feel kinda odd doing that. But if someone I'm talking to or something like that, I always give them my business card, and
Yeah.
so they can see everything, and then I always mention that I have started a newsletter now, so I do
Uh,
have that going, and to sign up for it, you just go to the website, and sign up for it. And I'm only okay, I'm only sending out, like, 3 or 4 newsletters a year. I'm not spamming everybody's email like
and I think that
newsletters.
that's a very good strategy because like I see a lot of art like art marketing websites suggesting that you need to market your art and your prints like any regular merchandise, which I think is completely wrong
Yeah, I think it is.
because it is not a regular merchandise. I could partially agree on prints that yes, prints you could push a little bit more often because it's a lower price tag item. And some of them, for example, if you're doing like a Christmas themed series of prints and like you have Christmas themed art, it would be wise to market it like around Thanksgiving so it could be considered as an option as a gift for Christmas. But that's not usually the case. Usually we just have our like niches and we kind of have our art and we have our followers and people who like our art.
Right.
Um, and the thing is, it is just ineffective to send it out weekly
Ve
because that's the easiest way to get unsubscribers. And the best thing I have found with my art, my business, is that I send it out a couple times a year. One year I sent it out once a year, and that was more than enough. People still remember me. I have so many clients who keep hiring me onto different projects, just, continuously because they know me, they trust me, they like my art, they like my work. And those relationships you know, I built by not abusing my end
right.
of the
Right.
relationship. I'm not trying to push my bottom line up, my revenue up with excessive emails of, oh, I have all these prints, please buy them because I need to make extra $100. I would much rather make a few $1,000s with them 2 years down the road than just keep spamming them with emails that they're just going to delete. They don't need this right now, but they will know and remember me when they need me. And
Right.
that's exactly like, that's basically my strategy. Maybe somebody disagrees with me. Maybe somebody has a really good approach that they do. And if you do, just send us an email because I would like to hear it because it would be really helpful to know what works for you guys and just in general. In which case is it okay to have a really good um, email sequence that would be appropriate and not create the negative relationship with your potential art buyers or art collectors, because I think what people fail to do is raise their prices. I think for you at this point of your career, you need to start raising your prices. You need to let your like email subscribers know that you have done this show and you have had this exhibit. I think your solo show in Venice is going to be one of the biggest anchors in your career, but you have also had a whole bunch of them before. And you need to tell people that you're raising your prices soon.
Yeah. I've had this advice from, because
Yes.
I'm still a member of the Art Ladder, which I still recommend to all your viewers. The Art
Yeah.
Ladder and the Visual Artists Association, 2 really, really good ones. I had a, one-on-one consultation with one of the founders, and she said the same thing. She said, You need to start raising prices." She said, "Be incremental about it." But I also think too that a lot of the artists who just are doing these newsletters, you get 2, I mean, I get them like 2 or 3 a week from the same, artists and stuff, but they're not really making the same type of art like that what like I'm making. So they're making art that's more it's easier to produce, they can produce a
Yeah.
lot of it. I mean, a piece for me, it could take a week, it could take 5 months, 6 months,
Yeah.
and I mean, it just depends on how much detail is in there. I had there's an artist that I follow, and she got into the live painting part of art,
Uh-huh.
which is a very legitimate thing to do if you
Yes.
can do it. It's weird to me, it's weird that a wedding venue would be like, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna bring an artist onto the venue, and they're gonna
Huh?
paint a picture." I'm like, "That would be weird for a wedding, but okay." But, I mean, so she's up to now where she can do an entire big piece in, like, 25 to 35 minutes. For
Huh?
me, that doesn't work because I wanna put that detail in there, and I don't
Yes.
I don't ever want anything to go out in the world that I'm not totally 100% proud of. And I
Yeah.
think that's a compromise you have to make. But I think with the
Yeah.
artists that you're talking about that send out all of those emails and things like that, and the artists that do, like, the live painting, the artists that do mugs and bags, and oh my god, I've seen art on so many things that I never thought you'd ever see art on, and I'm just like, "Wow." I mean, these are just people trying to make money. They're
Yeah.
trying to make a living and pay the bills, which is something that I think artists have struggled with forever, ever since history. I mean, there's never been a famous artist who didn't have patrons, and I think that's
No.
what we're struggling to find right nowadays is, those patrons. But I think it's better, like you said, it's better to build that trust, and it's better not for me, for my art business, it's better to not spam people's emails.
Yes.
Because if I'm only working on one piece for, 2 or 3 months, that's a lot of emails about that one piece of art, and I'm like, "Yeah, you know
Exactly.
what?"
Yes. Yeah.
Not gonna do that. And I just have a different philosophy about it, I think. I think I'm more on your thing. I'd rather someone remember me because they trust me, they know that I'm serious, they know I'm not gonna spam their emails with a bunch of
Yeah.
stuff, and then I would rather get that sale later on down the road than make $50 today and then they forget about you. I
Yeah.
don't really wanna do that. So, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
with you.
And exactly to your point, it's a like if you were talking about merchandise,
Mhm.
yes, you should treat it as like a regular item and you should push it as a regular merchandise. And you should follow up on abandoned cards and you should just keep reminding about yourself or like about the item that
Yeah.
person like Etsy will track you down.
I know. I'm just like, "Oh my
They
god."
know that you looked at an item.
They'll just send you
They
100
will
reminders. "You still want this? You still want this? You still want this?" Like, "No, I don't." Yeah, it's true. Now, the other thing too that I have figured out, and this is really good advice that I got from some different mentors that I deal with, they said to really be careful about prints. They said, "You really only wanna make prints of, items, not everything." So, like, if you have one piece that you really like a lot, you can make some prints off of it, but don't make a print off the next 3 or 4 pieces. Because they say what happens is people will stop buying your originals and they'll just know
exactly.
that you're gonna have a print at a lower price point, and then they'll buy that instead. And
Exactly.
that's marketing. That's just, the common consumer. I mean, yeah, I'm always about a good deal and a good sale.
Yeah.
I never make anything full price. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
At the Seattle Art Fair last year that I was at, I sold every single one of my prints and it was
Yeah.
on that canvas, but the canvas itself, I think I mispriced the canvas. It was too high for the art fair. And I think that's fine. That was a miss on my part. So this year, I'm learning from that this year. So I will do prints of the piece I'm submitting this year
Uh-huh.
if it gets in. And I will do those prints because they do make money.
Yeah.
But I sold the prints at too low of a price point. I sold them for
Yeah.
150 a piece last year, and that
Mhm.
was actually too low. And I thought that
Yeah.
was very interesting. I thought that was incredibly interesting that you could price those higher.
Yeah.
There was your clay prints. They weren't just, I didn't go to freeprints.com to get them.
Yeah.
I actually, went to a printing place and had these
Yeah.
prints made. They're not nearly as expensive as you think they are.
Yeah.
I had 10 of them made, and I think it cost me $60 to have 10 of them made, and they were like 11 by
Mhm.
14s, so they weren't small. So, yeah.
To your point about pricing prints. So I was once hired to retouch a print of a painting. And like basically it was hung on the wall in the bedroom, and then they opened the window and it blew off the wall and it just like scuffed the surface of the print. And it was like smack in the middle of the painting, and they really liked it. They really liked that print. And so I came and did my magic, retouched it so it looked kind of like it was never scuffed. But I also was very curious because like I love that painting. I could see that it's a print, and I asked like what artist that was, and I kind of tracked down the artist, and so she sells her prints of her artworks on Etsy, and her prints start at about 900.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, they're like about 24 by 18 or
Wow.
larger.
That's a big yeah.
And they start at about 900, but they come framed and there's free shipping. And basically, um, that's, that's that. And it's a thing. And they start at 900.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like the highest they go is about 2,500, which is basically the cost of an original painting, really, if you think of it, like it's like and like a lower end of an average original painting that would show at a gallery. So and she sells that through Etsy, and that client bought it from Etsy, and her sister also bought a few paintings from that artist on Etsy. So I know of 3 sales that artist has made through Etsy, and she has made a ton of money just
Yeah.
doing that. And she also has original art, that basically all those same paintings, but she has a website. It's like like through a Shopify website. So her website looks great. She shows her art at galleries, and her art series are wonderful. And I was just so impressed with this approach. I was like, this girl knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
She shows her original art at galleries. She has a really good website, but she has that commercial part of like this is her cash cow
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
Etsy sales, and she has made 2,500 sales so far that I could tell,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
And it's easy with prints. I mean, prints, if the piece is very popular, I would think
Mhm.
that it would be really good to do that. I think you have to have that I think you do have to have that kind of popularity, and I think it kind of lends itself to whatever kind of art it is as well. I
Yes.
think things like landscapes and abstracts and things like that, they do
Yes.
really well in prints. It's very difficult to get one of mine because like you said before, you've gotta have that excellent quality photograph
Yeah.
first. That's your very first thing to do. So if you're
Yeah.
going to do prints, I would, take a little investment and hire that professional photographer
Yeah.
to take pictures of the art. It's worth it. We did it that in Florida because
Yeah.
my biggest piece that I have, the one I did in Portugal, is really difficult to photograph. So we had a photographer come and he took pictures of that one. He took pictures of a couple of other ones, and they're beautiful and they're very high quality. So it's easier to make prints if I wanted to of those. It's much easier to do because it's a difficult piece to photograph. It really is. So yeah, I think you have to have those high quality photographs. And then yeah, I mean, prints are really good. If I do a print, I say it's a limited edition and I only
Mhm.
print so many of them and then they're gone. And I
Yeah.
think that helps create that scarcity mindset,
Yes.
marketing scarcity mindset. But I just don't do prints very often.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I just really don't. I never think about it, honestly.
Yes.
I really
Yeah,
never think about doing prints.
Zaria Foreman, I love her. She creates these giant paintings that are like the size of murals really, and it's on paper with pastel chalk and well, I think it's oil pastel or maybe just regular pastel. I'm not sure, but it's basically she draws icebergs and ice and like ice landscapes. And they're amazing. And she has been on a TED Talk, I think, but I watched that one and it was just very moving. And I'm on her list of subscribers to receive her newsletter. And in the past few years, I've only received her newsletter once or twice. And it was only about her very limited edition of silk prints. Basically, she had made those prints with like some sort of silk print. I'm not sure like how that works, that process, but they were very nice. They were not like the prints of her original pastel works. Like she doesn't do those. Like you can buy those at selected few galleries that are not even open to the public. Basically, you need to be a very high-end collector to even like go and see that art. So her pieces are like $50,000 worth of art there. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and that's one strategy. She's one of the artists that I'm just so blown away by. But she started just like you guys have the same trajectory.
Oh, okay.
So she was very into features and publishings in the magazines, and she had a very intentional, I wouldn't even call it branded, but she had a very intentional message to her art. She was all about global warming and preserving the icebergs and like stopping the climate change. But she wasn't like passive aggressive about it. Like some people are like very they blame and they shame, and it just becomes too much. You don't want that. Like
Right.
you kind of cannot really connect with it fully. So she just wanted to show the beauty of the icebergs in
Yeah.
her art, and it was so profound and so moving. And like her message was that this beauty will go away, will melt away if we don't do anything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that was so moving to me. And so um uh, her art is scarce. Pastels are very hard to
Yeah.
use
Yeah, they
and
are.
they flake.
Yeah.
And so I think it also adds to the like fragility of her message. Like her like it's a fragile art. It's a
Right.
fragile painting. It is
Right.
extremely hard to transport. Like even one piece of art can just flake off, smudge
Right.
off, and like
Right. Yeah.
and
I get that.
is a big ordeal.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I can see
So
that.
yeah.
I think it
So
is interesting that artists do like, for me, using the acrylics that I use, the colors are very vibrant, which I feel like gives kind of an urgency almost to the message of intimacy, and
Yeah.
that we need to look at these conversations and have these things because you wouldn't expect those colors in those types of settings. You would
Yeah.
expect it to be more muted or, darker or whatever. But
Yes.
so I understand her logic in doing those pastels because the fragility of that art is
Yes.
very similar to the fragility of our environment as well.
Yes.
So kudos to her, and I think I've actually seen her work now that
Yeah.
you mention it.
She's
I remember the
yeah.
TED Talk, and she
Yeah.
was on an exhibition to Iceland. I mean, just all these
Yes.
things, and I'm just like, "That is
Yes.
so cool." I remember looking at that
Yeah.
going, "That is so cool."
I know, right? And
Yeah,
so she has a very unique message and a very unique art that she does. And, like she just kind of stuck with it, and it really worked for her. And like now she works with brands. She had a watch campaign where she flew to North Pole and like just sat there with a wristwatch on her arm or something. But
do
that's
that. I would
great,
do that, yeah.
you
I'm like,
know.
"Here, fly me somewhere." I'll do that, sure, no worries.
She probably killed 2 birds with 1 stone. She came there, took some great photos for her next pieces so
Yeah.
she can work on more art and, also got paid for, like, just doing what she normally does, right?
That's the goal. That's the goal
Yeah.
right there. I'm like, "You know what? I will paint with your paintbrush if you're gonna pay me to use that paintbrush. You bet. No problem.
Yes. Yeah,
I will
exactly.
I will
Yeah.
mention it every time you want me to. Not a problem." So, I just don't know how to get that stuff. I haven't come across that yet.
Yeah.
So, hopefully. I
I
always
think
keep forgetting to mention it too. I forget to mention the pant brands that I use and things like that. I
yeah.
always forget to mention it, so I'm
You
like, "Alright."
know, I don't think you should worry about it at all. You will get all the brand deals you want that yeah, yeah. So and I had a question for you. So on artifacts.com, you've mentioned that there are artist agencies.
Mhm.
Have you thought of reaching out to any of them like for representation?
That's what I'm working up to right now. I'm actually working to get a new portfolio made. I want to get one that, I need to make one that's very, very high end, very professional, things like that. So, going to do some new photographs, and I'm working on this new series and I want to add a couple of those into that as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, there are a couple that I'm targeting,
Yeah.
as well as a couple of galleries also that I'm targeting. I just put in a couple
Mhm.
submissions this morning to
Yeah.
a couple of them because I know a lot of artists are really saying you don't need that representation, you don't need
Mhm.
that, it's fine. And if they can sell their art without it, that's great.
Mhm.
I personally, I struggle, to talk to people about my art. So I
Yeah.
would much rather somebody take a commission to do that
Yeah.
for me. That's a trade-off
Yeah.
I'm so willing to do because it takes a lot of time
Yeah.
away from your art, and it clutters your head with all of these things. Well, this running a business, it
Yeah.
clutters your
Yeah.
head. You've got a list of 100 things constantly rolling through your brain, and you're trying to create this beautiful piece of art. Huh, let's add
Exactly.
one more thing on there. So I would much
Mhm.
rather do that. There's an art agency in London called MT Art Agency,
Mhm.
and I'm very interested in getting them a portfolio to see what they would see. The artist that caught my attention that they represent, I can't remember his name, but he does huge pieces on the ground. So he's using this biodegradable type of material that he can, it looks like a painting, but it just biodegrades so it doesn't hurt the
Yeah.
environment. You can't even see what the painting is without a drone. That's how big
Wow.
they are. And then what he does is he makes prints of them. And so you can buy
Wow.
the prints because obviously you can't go buy the land that it's on,
Yeah.
obviously. But
Yeah.
I mean, just the things he's done on the sides of volcanoes. He's done it in English gardens and mansions. And he's done, oh my gosh, just the stuff he does is I'm in
Yeah.
awe every time I see a piece of his work. I'm in awe. And he's repped by that art agency, which is how I found
Uh-huh.
out about that art agency. Because I was like, who reps him? Who does this?
Yeah.
And they're very interesting. I just haven't I mean, there's a courage issue in there as well. As an
I
artist, you're always
know.
like,
Right.
"That's never good enough. I'm not ready yet. Oh, no." That's just a constant running we all have in our head. It's just a
Yeah.
constant and we have to get over that. So, I'm working on getting portfolios ready for that. That's my next step. My goal for 2026, I would like to end 2026 having representation.
Yes.
I just got into an online gallery called Arouse Art, and it's for art. Now, if your viewers go to this, the first thing they're going to ask you is if you're over 18 because they specialize in the LGBTQ plus community as well as what they term that niche kind of erotic art. There's a lot of
Mhm.
artists on there that have art very similar to mine, which is what attracts
Yeah.
me. to it, and she emailed me. I didn't even know about this. The woman emailed me, and she's an interesting woman. She's a Russian artist
Yeah.
who is, very anti-Putin. I'm like, "Ooh," and she's very vocal about it, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So she's kind of an activist artist, and she
Yeah.
wants to set up a new dialogue surrounding sensuality and
Mhm.
intimacy. She wants it to quit being seen as something that is just in the erotic realm, and that it needs to be a conversation that we need to
Yeah.
have. So I was very excited to get set up with that. But that's again, that's an online representation.
Mhm.
I really want these paintings to be seen in person because you just
Yeah.
I don't know, there's just something about it. You can look at a piece of art online, but you don't get the same impact as if you're
Yeah.
standing right in front of it. And I
Exactly.
mean, I've had that experience in art museums. You'll stand in front of some of these masterpieces and you just almost want to cry. They're so overwhelming
Yeah.
with emotion. And that's what I want to get to. I really want people to stand in front of my stuff and just almost just cry because I can't believe how overwhelmed. I don't know if I'll ever get to that. But we can always try. We can always try.
I think you may have already achieved that. You just weren't a witness to it
I wasn't
because,
witness to it,
like,
exactly. I was
yeah,
not witness to it.
yeah. I had that experience with one piece of art. So I was 8 years old. Somebody gave me an art history book, and it was the painting. I don't remember her name. So it was the Cubism era painting, and she was the contemporary of Picasso. And on the next page, there were like a whole bunch of pictures of Picasso's paintings, which like I found interesting, but they didn't move me. And I'm sure somebody is out there sitting and listening to this, and they're like, Picasso's paintings didn't move you. He's like, greatest and the best. But for some reason, in that moment, they did not move me. But that one painting on the previous page that I saw, it just moved me to tears
Yeah,
for some reason. I don't know what it was about this cubist painting. I couldn't even tell what it was exactly, but the colors and the composition and just everything about it moved me.
yeah,
And then, like 8 years later, I was standing in New York in Metropolitan Museum of Art, and I didn't even expect to ever see those paintings in real life. And I was in the Cubism section, and I walk in, and there is this painting, and I had the same experience. I just teared up. I could not help myself. I connected with that one, and it was a woman who painted that painting.
yeah,
And later I learned that she was his contemporary, and there is a big debate about who actually started the cubism, as a um, like as a movement. And hers was just, it was not huge. It was not big, but it was so profoundly moving to me. And like everybody interacts with art differently, I went to the next big room with the Picasso's masterpieces, and I sat there and I looked at them and I thought, well, yeah, I get it. I understand like what he was trying to represent here, but I just did not have that same reaction to it,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know? And so, and I think it just, what I'm trying what I'm trying to convey here is that everybody's perception of art is different.
It is. It is. Yeah,
And yeah, we as women often underestimate ourselves or undervalue our own imprint or impact on the community.
yeah.
That woman will never find out that she made me tear up when I
Right.
saw her painting twice
Right.
in my life. And I didn't have that same reaction to any other paintings in the museum, you know? So, but it happened.
Yeah. I mean, I get that because for me, it was art history class, and we were studying the Impressionist, and I saw a picture of, Claude Monet's Madame Monet and her parasol and her son, and I couldn't look away. I had the same reaction you did. There was just something not even one of his famous paintings, but I just had this reaction to it. There's just something about her gaze and something about that, and I was much younger. I was in university and, not that long married. My husband and I hadn't even been married 10 years yet when I saw that, and just there was just something about it, just,
Yeah.
connected. But I think people do, and that's the beauty of art. It's so subjective. I mean,
Yeah.
for some of us, maybe you don't understand anime art, but I guarantee that there's somebody else out there who thinks it's the most brilliant thing in the world because it
Yes.
is all about your experiences. It's all about what
Yeah.
you can bring to it. My husband and I can walk in to a museum and he's very attracted to very different artwork than I am. He's a big fan of Salvador Dali. And
Yeah.
I think Salvador Dali is cool, I just don't get it. I think
Yeah.
it's cool. He's a very big fan of Salvador Dali. He loves that artwork. So it's all very subjective. It's just it's how
Yeah.
you look at it and how you bring it. And I think as artists, the thing that we have to remember is that rejection is part of the art world. I mean, you're gonna be
Exactly.
rejected more than you're gonna be accepted, and that's just a fact of life. But the trick is to just, pick your chin up off the ground and, wipe your nose and just keep on moving forward. And that's all you can do. And I think that is the big difference between feeling like you're moving forward and then feeling like you're stagnant because,
Yeah.
it's hard to keep reminding yourself of that. That's hard to do.
Yes.
Because I look at my own things and sometimes I will forget to post things on my CV and then I'll have to go back
Uh-huh.
and do it. And then I look at what I post, I'm like, oh my God, I did like a lot this year.
A lot.
It's a good
Exactly.
exercise. It's a very good exercise
Yes.
because you can really feel like you're just not doing anything if you're not careful.
Yes.
And it's good to remind yourself that you are,
Yeah.
and as long as you just keep doing the things that matter and just keep doing the shows that you care about, you're
Yeah.
gonna get somewhere eventually.
Yeah.
And, who knows where it's gonna be? Who knows? Do I ever wanna be famous? No, I have no desire. Do I want my art to be known? Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I
Yeah.
want my art to do all my talking. I don't have any concern. You see a lot of the young
Mhm.
artists, they're all about the red
Yeah.
carpet and they're all about the,
Yes.
the and I'm just like, I have no desire. You're never gonna see me doing anything on a red carpet, really? No, I'm a little too
Yeah.
Midwestern for that, I think.
Yeah. So
It's not
you're saying you don't want your face on the billboard?
I don't. I really don't. I don't know. There's just something about that. Would I love to see one of my pieces on a billboard? Oh,
Yes.
hell yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. But I think that's a big difference. I think that's a difference between being a lasting presence and being that 5 seconds of fame type of
Yeah.
15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that drives me crazy about social media is that, I get censored a lot on social media because
Yeah.
Meta just does not want to show a nipple to save their life. They don't want to show it.
Yes.
Yet I see full frontal nudes and I'm just like,
Mhm.
what is the difference here? I think I'd rather see a nipple than see that.
Exactly.
You know, I, I don't know. It's infuriating. You could spend 14 hours on YouTube trying to figure out an algorithm for Meta and you're
Mhm.
figure it out. And it's infuriating. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And, there is classic nudes, and I think artificial intelligence just is not smart enough yet to recognize it.
No, they're not. And they're also not smart enough to tell the difference between what is, well, pornographic and what is not. They're just kind of lumping
Exactly.
it all into one
Yeah.
category.
Yeah.
And really arguing with a robot is
Yeah.
useless. It really is. So
Yeah.
I've had to do my little tricks. You'll see little R's across
Yeah.
the and
Yeah.
I don't like it because it ruins the image. But, people can go to the website to see the real image, obviously,
Yeah.
and, they can see it there, but I hate having to do that because you can tell when they've censored you because, like, if you do one post and it gets, like, 1,500 views and your very
Yeah.
next post gets 150, you got
Uh,
censored.
yeah.
That Meta did not show it like it needed to be
Yeah.
shown, and that's happened to me on more than one occasion, and I thought, "Well, this sucks." It's like,
Well, thank you so much. You guys check out Leigh's website.
"Okay."
It's going to be here in the YouTube video and podcast video as well. I will put it in the description and also in our community. And so it's just really helpful. And I'll also post all the mentions of all the websites so you guys can go and check it all out. And so thanks again.
Oh, thank
I,
you.
yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much.
Yeah,
Talk to you soon.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.